So Trigun Stampede episode 2 is here, and as someone who is very impressed by its first episode, I mean, this show, it's just sold me. And I think in terms of looking at our main character, Vash the Stampede, man, he's just the coolest gunslinger around. And we've seen very little from this show of him actually doing gunslinging maneuvers. But I mean, there's a moment in episode 2 here where basically he shoots a bullet right at the other bullet and it just stops the whole thing. And I think in terms of like selling you on a main character's mystery, the intrigue, and where the story's gonna go, I think Trigun Stampede has done an amazing job. And this is a brand new story, a brand new direction for the Trigun universe. So we're not just getting a rehash, a reimagining of the original anime. Like, the director has said this is a brand new direction, so things aren't going to be exactly similar to that of the original. But the thing that the director has said is he wanted to make Vash the hero. That for him, growing up, this was his anime hero. So the fact that he's just trying to make that still the main focus of this new story, I think he's doing an amazing job. I mean, I just think the idea of someone who very much has the skill set to probably kill an entire village need be, but is so reserved that he doesn't try to pull his gun out, and when he does, it's generally just to, well, stop a giant meteor shower of rockets from coming down. Or in the case of this episode, when you have a mad scientist and his, like, abomination of a son who kind of remind me of Frankenstein meets Bane from Batman. I mean, it's no wonder this dude is so lovable, right? And I think in terms of just the general presentation of Vash as a character, right, he's so energetic, he's so, honestly, I'm not sure if I'm the only one who felt it, but the way he was dodging and running around, it kind of reminded me of Insomniac's Spider-Man games in terms of some of the cinematic, like, escape scenes. There's something about him that he's just so limber, and just the fact that he's such an amazing character that you can't help but love him. Now, before we jump any further, I do gotta make a mention, we do have a full live reaction to today's episode available on my Patreon, so if you want to see that, go consider supporting. But yes, this episode, did I like it as much as the first? Honestly, yes. I just think this is a fascinating world, and it's the type of anime world you don't see a lot of, so they stick out. And honestly, just seeing a village that has been saved by this man and is loved by all basically have no choice but to try to turn him over for the bounty. As last episode, they basically get offered an insane amount of money that more or less would solve all their issues. We can see they don't have clean drinking water, that their plant is basically destroyed. They need a brand new one. And the only way they're going to get that is if they turn over the man that they respect so much. I think there's probably going to be some pushback saying that they were scumbags and, you know, how dare they? But I mean, when you really look at human nature, when you look at parents looking at their kids wondering if they'll be able to have water and food in their stomach or if everything's going to go, it's no wonder why they looked at it as much as we love this man, unfortunately, we have to turn him in if we want to live. I mean, Vash as a character clearly is someone who doesn't hold too many grudges, especially against those that he deeply respects. And I think he probably looks at it as he understood their reasoning, but he wasn't going to go down without a fight. But his fight was just trying to escape. And it's interesting to see the direction they went, because you never got a sense that these were like scumbag villagers who are just doing it for the money. More so, they're doing it so they can survive, and unfortunately, it seems like that was their only option. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen, because obviously he's not getting turned over for the bounty, unless they're going to go the direction of he gets turned over, they get the money, and then he somehow escapes in a very, probably clever way. But I'm interested to see, because they end the episode pretty dramatically, right? So we have this mad scientist and Frankenstein characters, right? And honestly, quickly, I was like, are they going to be like the Team Rocket of the show, where they're going to continue to try to foil our boy's plans and they're going to try to capture him, but it never works out? But then by the end, it kind of felt like they were at a neutral spot where they kind of had like, they're able to drink around a table together without worrying someone was drawing a gun. And then they decide to end the episode with this man getting like swarmed by these almost like spider-like robots, and then a big explosion happens. Do I think he's dead? Honestly, probably not, just given the way they directed it. They did a very wide zoom and then they showed the explosion, so maybe they'll go the direction of episode 3 kicks off and, you know, they got all the bots off of him before the explosion happens, or he's just so tanky that it didn't kill him. But if they actually did commit to killing and, you know, killing his son from as he's explaining it, I'm not sure what that would do to a man who already feels like he's a mad scientist, and I mean, if that happened, who knows what could occur. The one thought I had while watching, I was like, well, what if somehow this crazy dude who clearly has some insane ideas in his head was able to fix the plant? Maybe that would be a way of getting around their money troubles, so they wouldn't have to buy a brand new one. So, I don't know, there's a lot of interesting things that are occurring in this episode, but the biggest mystery is Vash as a character. We can tell he's probably done some things in his past. He's probably, I would be shocked if he hasn't killed a fair few people back in his day. But the thing is as he currently stands, he seems like, as he gets called, a weirdo. He's someone who he can't tell, like, you can't look at him and say which side is he on, because he tries to help and save everyone. But it's very clear, based on his precision at shooting a bullet as someone else just shot a bullet, he could probably shoot someone from across the goddamn globe need be if he had the right artillery. So the fact that he chooses not to, and the only time we've seen him so far over 2 episodes draw a gun and actually shoot is to stop violence, I mean, it's going to be interesting when the shoe drops, or, just everything hits off and he's going to have to start killing, because I feel like at some point that probably would have to happen. But in terms of, like, selling you on a character you want to see more of, I think Trigun Stampede is doing an excellent job. And like I mentioned, he's a very interesting character to follow, whether it's his initial escape when he's, like, jumping across the buildings and everyone's firing at him, he goes up a rope, or just, like, the way he dodges bullets. He just feels almost like Spider-Man. Like, if you've ever seen anything animated with Spider-Man, whether games or shows, the fact that Spider-Man can be a bit of a troll to his enemies, so he's kind of like dancing around the attacks at times. And that's almost how Vash kind of seemed. Like, he was just someone he wasn't having fun per se, but that's almost like the trollish attitude they gave him. And I think the 3D really works well to give him that energetic feel. But I think out of every character I've seen so far, Roberto is probably the one I like the most, which maybe some people will say is weird, because he really hasn't done a whole lot. He just drinks and smokes a lot, but there's something about just seeing him in the background. There's a moment where there's, like, this car chase, right? And you zoom in, and my boy's just drinking, and, like, they're swerving, they're dodging, and you can just see him just try to keep the bottle, like, into his mouth, and then he's, like, just trying to get the last few drops, and when he's out of alcohol, he just starts smoking. I don't know, there's something about him, just his carefree attitude, but then the fact that he can drop some heavy advice, or just some heavy words at the very end. I just like him. I like what he's offering, but I mean, just between this badass, really interesting gunslinger, and a cast of characters that have all entertained me in different ways, I mean, I'm really enjoying what the Trigun universe has to offer here. As someone who is a big fan of Studio Orange, and has been a big fan of Studio Orange ever since they released their first big anime, I mean, I just love seeing and comparing where they've been over the years, and it really does feel like they take their previous anime that they work on, and they take all that they learned there, and then they try to improve it with their next one, and it really does feel like they get better with time, and I think just this world is so fascinating. The opening and endings are beautiful and very unique visually. It's just such a good world and has me so eager for more. I am interested to see what the mystery about his brother and everything like that will be, and I mean, they're clearly showing us more and more from different perspectives and showing those flashbacks, and I imagine there's going to be some heavy things in the future. And I mean, the whole Million Knives name that gets dropped, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, but in terms of am I still sold on this world? Absolutely. And I can't wait for more. But of course, I'll pass the torch over to you. What did you think of Trigun Stampede Episode 2, and what do you hope to see in the future? Do let me know down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Like I mentioned, there's a full live reaction available on the Patreon, and while you're there, you can also get yourself a video shoutout like a few are about to get here. So we got Guthvardar, Arnu Gutierrez, and Jen. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.